Good afternoon. My name is Vladimir. Today we will talk about one of the most interesting directions which is Turkey, the Turkish real estate market. Today we have our Turkish partner as a guest. Leila, hello.
Hello, Vladimir.
Hear that Turkey is often compared to Dubai, as these are again programs that are interesting for investments. But in Istanbul, programs that are currently available to everyone, legal programs, they generally do not imply a return on investment. That is, we are talking about subsidies where you simply pay the government for, say, a passport or permit, and you won't see that money again, right? You paid it once and received the document. Or the investment return horizon in these countries starts at a minimum of 5 years. And this especially applies to European countries where this horizon can reach 5 years, 7 years, and it does not imply citizenship. That is, you can apply for citizenship, firstly, after living in the country for some time, and after the expiration of these 5 years. And in this regard, citizenship program is indeed interesting because it involves a clear investment in real estate. That is, it implies a direct purchase of a real estate property that will be in your ownership. The requirement is to hold this property for only 3 years. This is really very little compared to other programs available on the market. Also, these programs, like Turkey's, have an agreement with the USA for obtaining an E2 visa. And this is also available for clients who have obtained a Turkish passport. And in Turkey, there is excellent healthcare. And I think Istanbul is one of the most popular destinations for medical tourism. But Leila, tell us, do you often encounter your medical tourists in Istanbul?
Absolutely. The high-quality healthcare throughout the country has indeed led to a demand for this healthcare, not only from Turkish citizens, but also from tourists and a large number of foreign nationals. This, in turn, has led to the development of medical tourism throughout the country, but particularly in Istanbul, because Istanbul has a large number of clinics. These are not only local clinics, but also American clinics like Memorial and international ones like Florence Nightingale, as well as their own large major clinics, undoubtedly, leads among many of them. Therefore, yes, Turkey is very popular in the field of medicine. And of course, local citizens can say they are lucky to have access to such healthcare in a very simple and easy way. I would like to add about the program, about how it's a very clear investment, 3 years, and you can exit it. In fact, in Turkey, there are 85 million people living. So the country here, it is a very big advantage that local people are very active in their own market, and there is no need to worry about whom to resell your property to after 3 years. I just wanted to point out that it's very important to choose the right city where this liquidity exists. And of course, first of all, we should pay attention to the population size of this city. And here, undoubtedly, the leader is Istanbul, which we will return to a bit later. Yes, the city is very important to understand the liquidity of this real estate. In particular, the location of this real estate within the city itself is also very important. That is, we need to understand where we are buying, in which district, what infrastructure is nearby, and whether there are many competitors with similar real estate. Again, we will return to all of this later when I talk about the districts of Istanbul.
Yes, there are indeed many cities here, a very large selection depending on the purpose of purchasing real estate in Turkey. And it's very strange when, for example, we talk about some small cities with a population of 300, 400,000, and the client wants to achieve high liquidity in such a small market. This is indeed very difficult. Therefore, I completely agree with you here. Indeed, one should look at.
This is a huge advantage regarding Istanbul, but also for metropolises in general, both in Turkey and in other countries.
Let's say
to Istanbul because it is the largest city in the country with a population of 20 million people. 30% of the GDP is attributed to Istanbul. About 20% of the workforce is also concentrated in Istanbul. And of course, almost 50% of taxes are also collected in Istanbul. This indicates a certain economic strength of the city itself. Additionally, the city combines financial centers, actively operating financial centers, including those that will be launched by the end of this year. Istanbul is also very interesting with its various districts because we all know that it is a city of contrasts, and therefore it is necessary to have a good understanding of the locations and comprehend the districts, because in some areas we will see quite an old housing stock, while in others we will see skyscrapers and a completely different picture. Yes. Besides that, Istanbul is distinguished by its huge airport, which was opened in 2018. That's actually not so long ago. And this airport has already gained popularity due to its passenger traffic, its size and area. I recently came across fresh statistics showing that the passenger traffic there has already increased to almost 100 million per year. And naturally, it claims to be one of the largest airports, not only in Turkey and Europe, but of course in the entire world. This is a very important nuance because it's crucial for investors to understand how easy it is to reach a country where they would like to invest. That is the option for 8 to 9 hours. And there is an option when you fly 3 to 3.5 hours to Turkey.
From Istanbul, you can reach any point in the world. That is, it could be the United States, Canada, it could be South America, it could be Asia, it could be the Gulf countries, Europe, Russia, Kazakhstan. So indeed, it is such a major transportation hub of Europe. And if I'm not mistaken, according to Turkish airline statistics, it is the largest airline in Europe. That is, the Turkish company ranks first in terms of passenger traffic.
Yes, absolutely right. And in this sense, of course, the airport has greatly influenced the city itself, the districts, and the formation of new areas, which we will also discuss. And these areas are undoubtedly very attractive for investment. With this in mind, I will now share my screen and would like to show a map of Istanbul.
The only thing that should be mentioned probably is the advantage of Istanbul, as you said, is the concentration of the country's financial flows, business flows. There is a huge number of foreign firms and companies' offices in Istanbul. It is the largest logistics hub in Europe. I think a significant portion of the companies represented in Istanbul are transport companies that handle logistics. And due to its geopolitical position, Istanbul has been and remains probably the largest transport artery, yes, if we talk about the strait, and a transport hub of Europe and Asia, as it stands at the junction of Europe and Asia.
I absolutely agree with you here. As you already mentioned, Istanbul is very large and is divided into two parts. Yes, we have the Asian part and the European part. And of course, these two parts are separated by the Bosphorus Strait, which is indeed a very busy transportation hub because it is the only way to connect the Black Sea with the Mediterranean Sea. Economic benefits from this. And Istanbul is washed by two seas. To the north, the Black Sea, and to the south, the Sea of Marmara. Here is in fact our airport, which we talked about a couple of minutes ago. It is located in the European part of Istanbul. And in Istanbul, of course, there is a second airport. It is in the Asian part of Istanbul. It's approximately here. It is not as popular because it is somewhat smaller. Well, significantly smaller, I would say. And it currently has no available space around to expand at the same pace as Istanbul Airport does. Istanbul has historical and cultural districts and also has quite peaceful coastal areas. And it should be understood that the most crowded area, probably in terms of tourism, is the Fatih district, which is a cultural and historical peninsula where all the landmarks that many people know are located. These include Hagia Sophia, Sultanahmet, Topkapi Palace, and so on. It should be noted that real estate there is not very popular for purchase or even for rent in general, because again, it is a tourist center with a lot of people and quite a few hotels, which are hard to compete with. Secondly, it is a very old housing stock, which is usually not of interest to our investors. And because of this, we do not recommend acquiring anything there. And in general, there is no land left there to build something new and attract investors. Plus, Istanbul strongly protects its historical sites, and therefore, new construction is, you could say, absolutely impossible there. We have other central districts as well. For example, we have the Beyoğlu district, where probably the most popular place is Taksim Square and Istiklal Street. This is a pedestrian street with various shops and restaurants. Fatih and Beyoğlu are separated by this beautiful Golden Horn Bay. Not on this side of the Golden Horn, but on the other side, on the Beyoğlu side, it is developing very actively. And we have various types of new housing there, which are combined with historical landmarks, among other things. Regarding Beyoğlu, it should be noted that it is developing in two directions there. One direction is the quieter, more peaceful streets and neighborhoods of Beyoğlu, where there is residential real estate and people even purchase for themselves, and it is also well suited for renting out. There is a tourist side with hotels and even a very interesting site. Here, essentially, is the very project located more in the tourist part of Beyoğlu, managed by the Rixos Hotel, which appeals to a certain type of investors who highly value hotel management. Additionally, the hotel offers a guaranteed return, 7% annually in foreign currency, which is significant, and the lease term is 5 + 5 years. That is, it's 10 years. The property is very large. It includes the Rixos Hotel as well as other hotels. Undoubtedly, it offers a full range of hotel services. There are beautiful views of the Golden Horn, and the other side, specifically the historic Fatih Peninsula, from where you can see the Topkapi Palace and other iconic sites. Here, our price starts from $1,100,000. We started right away with the most, you could say, expensive option that I included in today's selection. Of course, we will also have other properties that are closer to $400,000.
This property, I think, is truly one of the most impressive, not only in Istanbul, but in Turkey as a whole. In many respects, yes. Therefore, it cannot be overlooked. And maybe it's good that we started with it.
Both the hotel and the entire project will be completed in December 2026. The Rixos itself has already been completed and is functioning as a hotel. But the apartments that will be managed by Rixos will start being available this year, yes, and the entire project will be fully completed by the end of next year. I also have a couple of photos here. These are from the completed part of the hotel itself.
A beautiful view to Fatih, showcasing the landmarks. I think I see the Süleymaniye or the Bulgur Mosque. Hard to tell from here, but these are the key mosques in Istanbul that attract tourists.
Yes, as you can see from the photos, there is already a certain internal infrastructure functioning there. Of course, there's an infinity pool that seamlessly flows into the Golden Horn. Besides the hotel, yes, Rixos, as I mentioned, there is the residential part of Beyoğlu, which started attracting attention probably back in the years 2021 from domestic investors. And then, of course, international investors followed suit as well.
Can't just let go of the previous project. Interesting. I would like to talk a bit more about it. The project itself aims to become historical and a tourist spot, because besides the residential complex and hotels you told us about, the project offers much more. That is, additionally, the developer is constructing a large number of additional attractions. This includes a shopping area, a promenade, children's playgrounds, an open-air theater, and a skate park. Also, it might be interesting for some of our viewers that the project includes 2 marinas, meaning yacht berths. If you purchase property in this development, first round, the developer can guarantee you a parking space. This means you can acquire a parking space in the center of Istanbul on the Golden Horn. That's really great. If you have your own personal yacht, you can park it in the historic center in the Mediterranean region.
Yes, thank you very much to include that. It is truly impressive, and we believe it only increase of all the nearby infrastructure, residential buildings as well.
That is, here we have added value being created through museums that are functioning, will be functioning, yes. With the completion of this project, libraries, all these commercial and entertainment venues, boutiques of foreign, European brands, and restaurants, it is expected to be something like a second Galata port. Do you have such information? How does the developer see this?
Yes, the developer sees it exactly that way. And in my opinion, there is no doubt that it could turn out to be a second Galata port. The only difference from Galata port will be that Galata port does not include the residential residences, apartments. It mainly includes retail, offices, and functions as a full-fledged port that receives cruise ships. Here in our project, there is the advantage that it is still a hotel area, and there are certainly all the conditions for a pleasant time, including retail. And of course, it will also attract tourists and locals with its museums that will operate within the entire complex. Yes, we are eagerly awaiting the full operation of all this infrastructure and all the buildings by the end of next year. And of course, we want to say that clients should not miss this opportunity while it is still available.
Let's move on to the next project. We have already spent a lot of time on this wonderful site.
The next project is also located in the historic center of Beyoğlu, but in an area where more residential residences are being developed and which are more than Galata port, but more to business centers, for example, Sicily or Levant. This is our mixed use. That is, it includes residential residences, an office. Current hotel is being built, but it is exclusively a hotel without any of its own managed apartments. Plus, there is a small open-air shopping center that occupies 2 floors of the entire complex. The first phase of the complex has already been built and successfully put into operation. The investors who joined us in this phase are very satisfied with both the quality of construction and were those who bought for themselves and now enjoying being in the city center with everything at their fingertips. We have clients who rent out and receive quite a good return, around 5%. However, the developer decided not to stop at the first phase and, of course, launched the construction of the second phase, which is now attracting our investors. Prices here start from $480,000 for 1-bedroom apartments, and they qualify for citizenship. We have already conducted a sufficient number of cases with purchases in this property, and our clients have undoubtedly obtained their citizenship. I want to note that this second phase will be of premium class, hence the prices starting at $480,000.
Well, it must be said that even when visiting the properties of the first phase, when they were still on sale, one cannot help but notice the truly premium quality of the finishes. So this is an A-class project, just like the previous one. For example, there are Miele appliances, natural marble, parquet floors, naturally high ceilings, and very high quality finishes in public areas, corridors, and lobbies. Well, inside it makes an impression. It's truly beautiful, very quiet, very peaceful. A pleasant property, both for investment and for living.
Yes, including In the property, there are now apartments that have views of the Golden Horn. So from the top floors, there are impeccable views. And the retail that is already available in the completed phase includes various coffee shop chains, different restaurant chains, supermarkets, other stores, and everything necessary for home and comfortable living in this place.
Two-level retail, meaning 2 floors of ideas are located in this project.
In this slide, we see the already completed phase, yes, the first phase. And the second phase will have a slightly different exterior design. It looks approximately like this. These are all things that with a maximum of 10 floors. Of course, each apartment comes with its own parking space. This is generally implied in all new projects in Istanbul and beyond. Yes, that the parking space is immediately included with the apartment, and you don't need to purchase it separately as in many other countries. And this is, of course, an undeniable advantage.
Yes, indeed. Comparing with probably CS countries, one can say that in Turkey, for the amount the developer asks for an apartment, much more is offered. That is, it always includes a finished interior, ready floors, painted walls, a kitchen set, appliances, a more extensive set of appliances, air conditioners, an entrance area with closets, a fully finished bathroom, and a parking space. As a rule, this is a certain standard. All Turkish developers, it may vary slightly depending on the price segment of the property. But this minimal set is maintained by practically 90 to 99% of developers either on the Turkish market, at least in Istanbul.
It should also be understood that since these projects are being built in Beyoğlu, there is a certain amount of old housing stock nearby. However, in Istanbul, there is a renovation program that is currently being actively promoted in many areas, and in particular, it has affected the old housing stock where the living conditions are no longer quite suitable for humans. And Beyoğlu has just been included in this renovation program. And now the old stock is actively being replaced with new stock and interesting and beautiful residential complexes.
Yes, I should note here that no matter which district of Istanbul you visit, you will always see these redevelopment projects. And that is, the old housing stock is gradually being replaced by new ones. And the pace of this construction is truly colossal. So the whole city is gradually, imperceptibly being rebuilt into modern buildings, naturally earthquake resistant. And this is of great importance for the attractiveness of the city, as well as for the convenience, comfort, and safety of the citizens who live there.
Continuing about the districts, okay, when talking about the district of Istanbul, it is also very important to note that there are business and financial centers in the European part. They start approximately in this area from the district of Şişli and move upwards to the north to the districts of Levent and Maslak. Here we mostly have skyscrapers, which also offer residential real estate. Today I did not include them in the selection, but in general they are all in our portfolio. And all these business districts are very close to the Bosphorus. That is, here by the Bosphorus, we mainly have low-rise buildings. This is also because Istanbul's legislation prohibits spoiling the view from the Bosphorus itself, and therefore all this low-rise construction is heavily protected. In Dutch, it cannot be rebuilt, a new floor cannot be added under, and conditionally a basement cannot be added. And this entire historical picture has been preserved to this day. Therefore, here along the Bosphorus, if we have such a request, we always go in search of secondary, such central areas. I would also like to note that right after the Fatih district, the coastal areas begin. These are Zeytinburnu, Bakırköy, Avcılar, Beylikdüzü, Büyükçekmece. Probably Büyükçekmece is where it ends. Investors often ask, what is there by the sea? What is there with sea views? What is there within walking distance to the promenade? For this, we have very interesting properties in these coastal areas. However, for example, if Zeytinburnu is still adjacent to some central locations and has very good transport accessibility, we have more remote areas that are also coastal but are quite far from the center. Today, I would probably like to focus more on the areas that are closer to the center, because as practice shows, in the current realities of key rates, real estate located in central locations or with very good accessibility to central locations has performed very well. Here, it is worth noting the role of Zeytinburnu. It is quite a large, very densely populated. On one side, it has the Sea of Marmara, beautiful promenades, water taxis, and water transport, which you can use to reach both the Golden Horn and here to the Bosphorus, as well as other districts like Üsküdar and Kadıköy. But at the same time, Zeytinburnu is adjacent to the main highway of Istanbul. Yes, there are 3 main highways in Istanbul. This is the southernmost one, called E5. And of course, the main transport routes pass through there. This includes the metro, the metrobus, and trams, which take you to all these city centers. Today, in Zeytinburnu, I have chosen 2 properties. They are very different in their concept. One of them is adjacent to the sea, to the promenade, while the other is very to the main highway and all the transport interchanges.
Even the distant districts of Istanbul, distant is quite relative. That is, by car, it's about an hour's drive. If we talk about the movement along the E5 highway to the city center, I have personally timed this journey multiple times. It's about an hour's drive by car. So in principle, well, if you compare it, for example, with Moscow's traffic, it's probably a very fast, you could say, teleportation to the center. That is, despite its high population density, thanks to well-designed transport interchanges, Istanbul allows you to reach these areas quite quickly.
Yes, there is public transport that also allows you to get there and back without traffic jams. Regarding the 2 properties in the Zeytinburnu area, I'll now talk about the one located near the E5 highway, which has good transport accessibility. This low-rise or development with a family concept is suitable for citizenship. You can live there yourself if that's your goal, but it also rents out very well. In general, all the projects, almost all the projects I've included in our webinar today yield a return in the range of 4.5 to 5.5%. And this project is no exception. The project itself also has good social infrastructure, playgrounds, a swimming pool, and all of this, of course, is included for the use of investors. It should be understood that there is a monthly maintenance fee for all of this. That is, each apartment is charged based on its square meters. This costs in the range of $300 to $400 per apartment. If we average this indicator, it is, of course, but much cheaper than if you were to look for all this infrastructure somewhere outside the complex. Currently, the developer offers apartments with 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and very large apartments. There are generally no 1-bedroom apartments here. Prices start at $400,000, which fits well with our citizenship requirements. And the project itself is almost ready. That is, you can come take a look and actually see the apartments and the finishing. The finishing is also of a very high standard. Again, as Vladimir emphasized, everything is included, except for all the furniture itself. That means final finishing, built-in kitchen appliances, and fully ready bathrooms.
Leila, thank you so much for including this project in the selection. Indeed, it's one of the best projects in Istanbul right now if we're talking about the price-quality ratio. İtaq, as you mentioned, the project is in a great location. The tram and metrobus stops are literally a 5-minute walk away. Also, the metro is a bit further away, and yet the project is in a very quiet area. That is, it is surrounded by parks on all sides and stadiums, and the parks are already operational, meaning these are state municipal parks where nothing will be built, on their site. It's pleasant to walk there with children and just live, being in a very quiet and peaceful place, seemingly so close to everything, all the transport and logistics facilities. Truly an amazing project. I would also like to point out for our viewers, it might not be entirely clear what 2+1, 3+1 means. It means that 2 and 3 refer to the number of bedrooms and 1 refers to the living room. So when we talk about the designation 2+1, it means that it is essentially a 3-room apartment which has 2 bedrooms and 1 living room.
Yes, thank you, Vladimir, for the explanation. I would like to highlight the next project, which is also located within this area, but it adjoins Kamadais, the waterfront, and is on the first coastline. Here, in fact, on the second picture, it is very clear how close it is to the sea. And what stunning views open up from the apartments to the Sea of Marmara and the Prince's Islands. We have very large project that also includes a branded residence by Fendi. We have a separate building designated for this. And there are also other buildings way into the one, again, from 2+1, meaning 2 bedrooms. There is a kindergarten, yes, which you don't need to go far to reach if you live there with children. At the same time, it is in high demand both for rental and for secondary housing. The project is already fully completed, fully constructed. There are chain restaurants, cafes, and shops, among others. The project includes an organic market, an organic food market. Certain historical buildings have also been preserved within this project, and their facades have been renovated and are now used both for specific purposes. Yes, and the project has its own bridge that leads directly to the waterfront. The waterfront is quite extensive, allowing for morning runs, walks, cycling, and enjoying the Istanbul weather well. And this is, in fact, the interior. We already noted, yes, that it includes a finished interior, a built-in kitchen. The furniture is not included. It is presented here as decoration and an example so that investors can roughly understand how to arrange and furnish the space. The developer has very good quality. Again, high ceilings. This is good parquet appliances. Again, from good brands. It could be Miele, it could be Gaggenau, or something similar.
Yes, it really looks very beautiful. And considering that this is the first coastline, in principle, the price seems more than adequate for these A-class apartments. A wonderful location. I would add here that this place becomes a center of attraction in the evening because there are many restaurants, a children's center where performances for kids are held, a children's theater. Wonderful project for just taking a walk in the evening along the promenade through the streets.
Yes, it is undoubtedly a cultural center as well because there are venues for various performances and events. And as you noted, Vladimir, it's very pleasant to take a walk there in the evening and spend quality time with the family. Returning to the districts of Istanbul, Koyka, I want to point out that the north of Istanbul is mostly covered with forests. That is, you can see this on the map. Everything marked in green represents forests, both on the European and Asian sides of Istanbul. As a result, areas near these forests are developing. We also have a very interesting area here called Vadi Istanbul. It is quite new, having started its development about 7 or 8 years ago. There are also very interesting projects there now. It has its own shopping center, business center, metro, as well as cafes, restaurants, and a very large area where you can walk and stroll. Separate running tracks have been made. Why this place is also very important and interesting is because it is located very close to financial centers. That is, many people who work here buy or rent property in this part of the city. It is also very easy to get to the airport via a direct road, which takes about 20 to 25 minutes by car.
Both airports in Istanbul are connected by operational metro lines. So even if you don't want to use a car or taxi, you can always, but upon arriving at any Istanbul airport, take the metro to the city center is really great. It doesn't take much time. Plus, as Leyli said, the largest business of Istanbul is located here. So at the same time, we have a district that's good for living, because simultaneously interesting for business and for renting out, I suppose, too.
Yes, absolutely right. It's also very for renting, attracting a large number of people. We currently have properties there that are both ready and still under construction. The price range is also very varied, with those under construction priced at $400,000 to $500,000, and those already built around $800,000 to $900,000.
That in Turkey, there is an opportunity to earn from this in the value of the itself. That is, it can be more interesting even than the rental yield rate. Entering at the construction stage, at the launch of sales of any project by its completion, there is an opportunity to profit from the increase inflation in the value of the property itself, including later resale on the secondary market.
Yes, absolutely correct. And this is, of course, a huge advantage when investing in this country. That is, the citizenship program not only gives you a passport, yes, for your entire family, children, and all the other benefits we mentioned earlier, but in addition, it allows you to invest very profitably and also gain capital growth. Besides Vadi Istanbul, I would really like to highlight a new developing area called Göktürk, which is located in close proximity to our airport. So here we have Göktürk, and here we have the airport.
About 15 minutes by car.
Well, yes, that's probably the maximum. The area is both developed and still continues to develop because it keeps expanding. Initially, it started attracting people because it has its own golf club here. As of today, it is the only golf club in Istanbul. And next to this golf club, of course, interesting properties began to be built. These are mainly private villas and townhouses. But since the demand continued to increase for this area, not only because of the golf club, but also due to its proximity to the airport, they started building different types of real estate here. That is, these are apartment complexes. And now we have several very interesting properties in this part of the city. Also, a year and a half ago, a metro line was launched that leads from the city here, like this probably. Here we have Göktürk. Here we have the Zorlu shopping center, which is very popular in Istanbul.
Is Beşiktaş the district we have here?
Zorlu, yes, Beşiktaş district. And now Zorlu is connected to the Göktürk district, and Göktürk is connected to the airport.
I see a green zone all around, Leyli, excuse me. It's really a forest around. So living in this area, a person is surrounded by forest on all sides.
Yes, this is the Belgrade forest, the largest forest in Istanbul. Yes, you live here, surrounded by the forest with a lot of walking trails too. So from this area, you can walk directly onto these paths inside the forest and enjoy walking. In Göktürk, as I mentioned, there are currently several interesting projects, but I would probably like to focus on one of them for several reasons. The first reason is the location, which I have already talked about. The second reason is the capital growth expected in this property. It is a low-rise development. In general, it is not customary to build high-rise buildings in Göktürk. The entire Göktürk is populated with such low-rise buildings. This project consists of 5 buildings. Here we can find both one-bedroom apartments and quite spacious apartments as well. This is a well-established player in the market. The developer mainly builds in such prime spots, in prime locations of Istanbul. And as a rule, the projects of this developer always have good capital growth. Here, I specifically noted in the presentation that the distance to the airport is 14 minutes, and the entire project will be completed by the end of next year. Of course, we have our own social infrastructure here, our own social areas, walking zones, and gazebos. That is a very pleasant place to spend time with your family as well. And I want to note in general that the Göktürk area itself is more of a family district, and apartments with 2 or 3 bedrooms are more popular here. Istanbul airport being an international hub, many people who work at the airport, including pilots, not only from Turkish Airlines, but also from other airlines, need 1-bedroom apartments. And now they are in high demand for rental purposes as well.
In Turkey, the profession of a pilot is one of the highest paid. It's one of the highest, and overall, the entire area. Ani is an elite district. That is, certain categories of people live there. You will have very pleasant, educated, and affluent neighbors.
Yes, and because of this, retail is developing very well in the area. Because a large number of passengers heading to the airport, it's the only place, yes, there 10 to 15 minutes from the airport, that has all the necessary urban infrastructure, all the necessary shops, supermarkets, pharmacies. Because of this, retail has also started to develop very well here. There are also good schools here where people send their children. In addition, 2 or 3 months ago, it was announced that the Galatasaray team will be completely moving to Göktürk because their sports complex is located here. It's not just football, but other sports as well. And of course, this has a very positive effect on the increase in rental prices and property values as well. Therefore, I would highly recommend this place with a view for the next 2 to 3 years.
Excellent. An excellent forecast for investments. An excellent project. If you are considering real estate not only for obtaining a passport, but also for generating income, both passive and investment, indeed, it's a very good offer. A very interesting project for investment.
Returning to our map and the districts of Istanbul, I've probably been talking about the European side of Istanbul for almost an hour now because it is very large. There are a great number of districts here. That is, people live in this part and here and beyond the lake. But I would also like to note, of course, that we have a wonderful Asian part of the city, which is distinguished primarily by its open spaces because it was developed much later than the European part. That is, while in the European part, we have many historical landmarks. And overall, it has been developed for a very long time and is a bit cramped. In the Asian part, we don't have such nuances. Here, there are vast open spaces, and there is a very cool pedestrian promenade, which is uninterrupted and stretches for about 30 kilometers. There are very interesting districts here, like Kadıköy and further on Maltepe, all of which are coastal. Here we have Kadıköy district, and here we have Maltepe district. Above Kadıköy, we have the Üsküdar district. These are probably the most popular districts in the Asian part where people prefer to buy or rent property. In the Asian part, it's important to understand that a financial center is currently being built and will be operational by the end of this year. This is the largest financial center in Istanbul and Turkey. It is located in the Ataşehir district. The headquarters of the central bank are moving there. Apartments of all other banks in Turkey, headquarters of state companies, private companies. And of course, all these people need somewhere to live. And that's why residential real estate is also actively developing in Ataşehir now. But besides Ataşehir, people also prefer areas like Kadıköy, and prefer areas like Maltepe. Here at the intersection of Üsküdar and Kadıköy, a very interesting complex is currently under construction, but mostly large apartments remain there. Well, there are also 2+1 apartments, starting from $700,000 to $800,000, and it is located in a very good transportation hub. From there, it's very easy to reach both the European side and the main locations via the first bridge, as well as our new financial center. But I would probably like to focus more on the real estate properties in Maltepe, because the entry thresholds are very interesting at the moment. They offer quite beautiful views of the sea. Samara.
Beach park with sports facilities. There are also stadiums and children's playgrounds. It's just nice to take a walk. It's really very large. You can also see that there are green areas on the nearby hills. At the same time, the district, I'd see, has excellent transport accessibility. That is, we have both Marmaray, the coastal metro, and the traditional metro, which is located a bit higher along the route, which we can see now on Google Maps. Therefore, in terms of logistics and living, it's a great location. And
I have identified two types of residential complexes. The first is our residential complex, which is, again, very well suited both for personal use and for renting out. In the last 6 months, we have observed a trend of rapidly increasing rental prices, specifically in the Asian part. And this has primarily affected districts like Maltepe and Ataşehir here. If previously we could say that rental rates in the European part were 10 to 15% higher than in the Asian part, now this figure has equalized, and we have very good returns, including in the Asian part of the city. Here we have one-bedroom apartments starting from $200,000. In our opinion, these are very good entry thresholds as of today. The project itself will be completed by the end of this year. This is, again, a very low-rise development. If you notice, today I mostly talked about low-rise developments because, there is indeed a certain trend now towards low-rise construction, both in Istanbul and in other cities as well. The project itself also offers very good social infrastructure. All the apartments are again delivered with high-quality finishing. This is a developer who has established a good reputation in the market. Two-bedroom apartments start from 400,000 and are eligible for citizenship. We have also already closed a certain number of deals in this project, and all our investors have obtained their citizenship. Again, due to the fact that Maltepe is very close to the financial center, plus Maltepe has a beautiful promenade and a wonderful park. It is the largest park in Istanbul and is in high demand. And this real estate will undoubtedly be in demand for rent as well.
Our clients are well acquainted with the European side, but practically nothing. Well, they have rarely been to the Asian side. Meanwhile, the Asian side is indeed, in many respects, perhaps even more attractive than the European side, and a significant number of the local population lives there. This makes the real estate interesting from the perspective of subsequent resale or rental. It is calmer, the streets are wider there.
Yes, I absolutely agree with you, Vladimir. Everyone, tourists mainly, think that if it's called Asian, then maybe it's somehow less developed than the European part. But the names European Asian, it's only due to the territorial features. Yes, that the Asian part is located on a different continent. But as you said, it's probably more European in mentality and lifestyle. There you can feel a completely different atmosphere. And undoubtedly, when tourists come to Istanbul, they mostly all go to Fatih, to Beyoğlu, because these are the most iconic places in the city. But I always advise my friends and colleagues to definitely visit the Asian side and experience a completely different Istanbul, because here the rhythm and lifestyle are entirely different. And you realize, this is what Istanbul can also be like. And I've even had cases where investors were initially focused only on the European side and were very adamant. And I almost had to plead with them, please, no, let's go to the Asian side. After that, they fell in love and ended up making their investments here in the Asian part.
Well, for example, the Moda district is one of the most liberal areas of Istanbul, in my opinion, where a large number of foreigners from English-speaking countries reside long-term, and it's a pleasant area. to visit during various holidays or just in the evening. It is indeed very European, probably one of the most European locations in the city.
Yes, and besides Moda, we have Bağdat Street, which is quite long, starting from the Kadıköy district and gradually flowing into the Maltepe district. And along this street, of course, there are a large number of cafes, restaurants, offices, and shops. This is the main street, probably connecting these two districts. It should also be noted that these two districts are specifically designed for walking. If we look at the European side, we cannot say that all these promenades are continuous. They are still interrupted by either roads, buildings, or historical palaces. Here in Asia, nothing is interrupted, and you can walk peacefully, explore different streets, and enjoy Istanbul.
I completely agree. It's very pleasant to ride bicycles or roller skates along the long promenade. In the evening, in cool weather, you can watch the sunset and the Princess Islands, which we also see on the map. If you have, for example, an apartment with a sea view on the Asian side, it means that at night you won't just see the Black Sea, which is just black water, but beautifully lit houses on the Princess Islands, creating a beautiful view of the sea with islands, houses, and lights. In the evening, the promenade and the sea look very beautiful, especially from the Asian side.
Yes, and because of this, I would probably like to talk about the second type of property. This is a property more suited for rental, as it has permission for short-term rentals. It's no secret that in Istanbul, so it's starting from the year 23, new regulations regarding short-term rentals have been introduced.
This doesn't only concern Istanbul, yes, it generally applies to all settlements.
Yes, and now for short-term rentals, a residential complex must obtain permission from the municipality. Not every property receives this permission. That is, some properties simply don't want to bother with it. Some properties, on the contrary, are more intended for family living. But in Maltepe, we have a project that fits exactly our goal and the goal of short-term rentals. So what I was talking about earlier regarding other projects, this is mainly about long-term rentals of 1 year or more, apart from the Rixos Hotel with guaranteed rent. And this project here, you can rent out your apartments for a week, a month, or even for 5 or 6 months.
Here, it should be mentioned that in principle, any real estate property, any apartment can be rented out, which is considered more than 100 days a year, is with a tenant, but usually, as Larry mentioned, it's a year. There are properties with a management company that handles short-term rentals, daily rentals. It manages your real estate property, pays taxes on your behalf, and you receive a net income from the management of your assets, that is, from renting out your property.
Yes, absolutely. Right, Vladimir. And here we have very attractive prices, starting from $140,000 for studios and $200,000 for one-bedroom apartments. I also want to note that in new constructions, you no longer find projects. I would advise our investors to pay attention to this as well. As mentioned before, Maltepe has a very interesting location. And because of this, you can also quickly reach the airport on the Asian side named Sabiha Gökçen. So from Maltepe, it's not really that far to Sabiha Gökçen airport. Here, the first phase has already been completed and is ready. In this first phase, we have studios available in a finished state, which can be purchased now and immediately rented out to start generating income. And the second phase will be completed in December 2025. There, the majority are one-bedroom sadece and two-bedroom apartments. Here we have such photos, renderings. The project as a whole has 30 floors, and starting from the 15th or 16th floor, you get a sea view. Accordingly, the higher you go, the better the view. A question might arise, yes, in the minds of our investors and listeners, but the studio costs around 140,000. How do I obtain citizenship? Of our webinar, when Vladimir emphasized that you can purchase multiple properties. That is, here we can consider, for example, 3 studios, yes, for citizenship, and rent out each of these studios, or say 2 one-bedroom apartments, or you can even have 1 studio apartment and 1 2-bedroom apartment. That is, the project allows for different combinations. But the idea might arise that it's worth it if I buy 1 apartment from one project and another apartment from a different project, and then apply for citizenship. Unfortunately, this is currently restricted by the fact that if both projects are under construction, this cannot be done. If both projects are completed, then such combinations can be made. And when the project is not yet fully completed, such combinations are preferably and even strongly recommended to be made within a single project.
Here, I would like to note that all investors who intend to submit documents for citizenship are accompanied by the lawyers of our partner, and you will not be left alone with your problems. Therefore, we always select properties based on your request and the goals you are pursuing. So if your goal is citizenship, you know, all the proposals we will send imply the possibility of obtaining it.
Yes, no, absolutely correct. In the Asian part, we also have other districts, including here we have the Kartal district, Pindik. Here in our portfolio, we also have certain real estate properties. I can say that in Kartal, it's also near our main highway. Here are projects that also rent out very well, and I can say that they yield around 5% annually. Besides the quota, I also want to highlight the Umraniye district, because it is very densely populated, and therefore real estate there is in high demand for rent. We also have properties there. It's mainly large apartments, 3+1 and more. But the price for them is very attractive, in the range of $500,000 to $550,000 for real estate that will be rented out by the yield 5% annually. Despite this, in Umraniye, these areas are also in high demand for living for oneself, because the specific project I'm talking about has all the necessary infrastructure, 2 metro stations nearby, 2 shopping centers within walking distance, sports complexes, and hospitals within walking distance. This, of course, is very enticing when an investor is looking for an apartment for themselves, for their own life. And to the north, we have a very large area called Beykoz. Beykoz Key is very diverse, also contrasting, but the part that is populated with new real estate developments, there it is, Beykoz, is very large. The part that is populated with new real estate developments consists mostly of premium. There we have both apartments and both from developers and on the secondary market as well. So if there is an interest in premium real estate and living near the forest, then Beykoz is the right area.
Green areas, again, as in the case with Göktürk, we see nature, forest, fresh air all around. The northern areas are significantly different due to the abundance of greenery.
Yes, absolutely right. And as our viewers may have already noticed, the Bosphorus is connected by 3 bridges, the first bridge, the second bridge, and the third bridge, which provides a certain ease of movement between the 2 continents on which Istanbul is located. And of course, these 2 parts of the city are also connected by the Eurasia Tunnel under the Bosphorus. Vladimir, this is probably my brief story about Istanbul districts and real estate properties. There are a lot of properties, a large number due to the fact that Istanbul is very big. In our portfolio, we have the majority of these properties. Of course, it's impossible to gather all of Istanbul together, but we help our clients understand which districts suit their specific goals. And in addition to all this, they can also obtain citizenship.
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, a wonderful selection for any investment purpose, any real estate purchase goal, whether for oneself, for living, or for investment purposes. for renting out, for obtaining citizenship. Today, we probably covered a significant part of Istanbul. It's very difficult to cover everything due to time constraints. Then I suggest we summarize what we talked about today. So why does Turkey remain attractive to us? Unlike other programs, there is a very short time horizon required for owning property and obtaining a passport. That is, it's only 3 years after which you can sell your property and fully recover your invested capital. Meanwhile, the passport remains with you. There are no residency requirements in the country. The citizenship process is quite simple and straightforward, meaning investing in real estate. Thank you very much. I urge everyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't miss the updates. We will strive to make interesting videos for you. Layli, thank you very much for your time, for this wonderful selection. I hope that we answered many of viewers' questions, and we look forward to welcoming you. We look forward to seeing you in Istanbul, in Istanbul and in other cities of Turkey. A wonderful country for living, for investments. I am sure it will not disappoint our guests.
Vladimir, thank you very much for the invitation. And I probably have nothing to add. You perfectly summarized our entire webinar. Yes, I hope that our clients and investors found answers to many of their questions. Well, we are happy to always consult them on any remaining questions, if they still have any. Yes, thank you again, and have a great day, everyone, and to you as well.
Thank you all. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.